What's up, guys? My name is Juan and you're watching my channel BlueprintPC. So, what is this? This is TLDR. Too long, didn't read. What this is going to be a monthly or maybe a bi-monthly segment of essentially tech news, but in a hopefully shorter format if I can keep my rambling to a minimum. Long story short, I know not everybody likes to read the mile-long articles that you find all over the place or watch a 15-20 minute video talking about one specific thing. I don't mind it personally, but I know not all of you, like to do that, and this is gonna be my short format version of getting you tech news that's happened over, at least a month, possibly more frequently, depending on what exactly is going on. So that's what this is, and if you notice anything else different back here for returning viewers, I did some stuff here. Stick around at the end. After I go through the tech news, I'll kind of explain what's going on here. All right, first up, Nvidia drops the 4080 12GB, like they frickin' should have in the first place. Sort of. Long story short, Nvidia launched a 4080 12GB. It was what looked to be a cut down version of the 4080 16GB, but it was less memory and less cores, so it was a cut down die, so you're gonna get less performance and less memory. So why call it a 4080 for $900? And that to me is what, made me, most of the rest of the world, influencers, media, everybody else, basically call Nvidia out on it, and they've now unlaunched the 4080 12GB. What are they gonna do with it? We don't know yet. Me personally, what I think they should do there is rebadge it a 4070 Ti like it probably should have been in the first place. That card probably shouldn't have been a 4070 because it realistically was probably too close to a 4080, and for that price, that's ridiculous. So they should turn that to a 4070 Ti, drop the price to $300, and then still release a 4070 underneath it. That's my personal 2 cents. But the gist of it, Nvidia canceled the 4080 12GB after basically everybody on the planet said, hey, that's overpriced and or dumb because it's not a 4080 because it's cut down so much. So there you go. AMD also, though, they've been in the news for good reasons up until recently, which we'll dig into. AMD launched their 7000 series processors, which was good. We all were expecting it. We're all anticipating it. Pricing was debatable. They were about on par with the 5000 series, some ways better, some ways worse. But regardless, decent performance uptick, which again, that's a pro. It's the new AM5 platform, so good and bad of that is you have to convert now to DDR5 if you want to use that platform. The other bad part is all the motherboards that have released so far were expensive. They didn't release anything that was budget friendly, and mind you, that's a marketing move. They want people to buy the expensive stuff first before they have a cheaper option available. That sucks though, because I looked into it, and for me to upgrade to a 7700X, a motherboard that would suit my needs, and enough RAM, which, again, aiming for 32GB, which is what I would typically go with, it was gonna cost me anywhere from $800 to $1,000. 800 was still cutting corners on stuff that I didn't wanna cut corners on. $1,000 would have been where I wanted to be, but that's ridiculous. Since then, AMD has stated that they are reducing production of the 7000 series lineup because of lack of demand or interest, which is not the fact that there was a lack of demand really or interest, it was a lack of money to afford it, at least in my opinion and in my case. So do me a favor, in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts, if you were interested in that, what they turned out to be. If you did buy it, tell me why, tell me how much you spent if you're willing, you don't have to. And then if you didn't buy it, just let me know why. I'm just curious if, anybody shared my thoughts on it. Now, the other negative thing that happened with the 7000 series launch wasn't by AMD. Intel. Intel released the 13000 series processors, and holy crap did they come out swinging. Long story short, 13000 series processors are pretty damn stout. You get more E-cores, you get different clocks, you get more cores in some scenarios. Overall, they boosted your core count, which is great for multi-threaded, performance, things of that nature, but their IPC went up and their core clocks went up. So what did they do? They basically wiped the floor with AMD in most scenarios. Not all, but most. And even then, a lot of those scenarios were minor wins. You're talking, on average, probably 7 to 10%, but they still did it in most scenarios. And the 13900K is cheaper than the 7950X, and it outperforms it. So literally, you're paying more now for the 7950X and you're getting less performance. So Intel kind of got a solid win here with the 13,000 series processors. And whew, mind you, as you go further down the stack, it becomes more competitive between the 7600 and then like the 13600K and things like that. That gets a little more competitive, like for the gaming portion of it. And then you can just simply upgrade from your 600 series Intel board to the new processor with a BIOS update. So essentially you can run DDR4 still, which is cheaper, or if you already have DDR5, you just grab your processor, you go boop, and you're done. So that's one of the other factors. Intel came out swinging hard with the 13,000 series lineup, and it all looks pretty damn good. Again, depending on the price segment and whatnot, but it's promising, and the competition is great for us because we're seeing them going back and forth tit for tat, which is just better for us for better choices. Intel also did something else this month, which was surprising. So they're actually kind of on a roll. They released their ARC GPUs finally. A750 and the A770, if I'm correct here. They're roughly competitive in the market of a 3060, and the price point is pretty good compared to Nvidia. AMD, they're struggling a little bit because price-wise, they have like the 6600, 6600 XT, which are very cost competitive to those, and surprisingly enough, AMD does have their drivers in check right now. They had to get there. They took some years to do it in a couple generations, but AMD now has good, decent drivers. Intel doesn't though, which is surprising because Intel, you figure would with the size of the company and the money they have this thing around, but I do have faith that Intel will get there. And that's the great part about it is now that Intel has released their GPUs, they came out strong with, I think, a 3060, 6600 kind of like ballpark GPU. I think that's a great place to start. Yes, they released an A380, but that was mostly for, office computers and OEMs. So like if you bought like a Dell, it may have an A380 in it. Realistically, they came out swinging. They have some work to do on drivers, which I do think they'll get there. They have the new AV1 encoder, which is going to be future-proofing to some degree. And Linus has a nice video about that too, about, the actual encoder and how it can be used moving forward, even if you buy one now as a secondary GPU later on down the road. Alrighty guys, that's all I have for you on this one. But like I said, if you have questions about this, that's what we're gonna talk about right now. So this video will be longer than my future TLDRs. So long story short, me and my wife had a baby earlier this year, and the room that I used to do my recording in was literally here. Her room is here. So the doors face each other and everything. It was kind of, it is what it is. We kind of knew it was going to be a thing, but I didn't realize how much of a pain in the butt it was going to be to try to record and then not wake her. She was napping, sleeping at night, etc. And even just trying to do things, if I was doing benchmarks and whatnot, I was having problems trying to wake her up. So me and my wife talked it out. I have now moved my studio to the basement. So, and this took a lot of time to do, and I know it doesn't really look like it, but there's a lot of stuff I had to do to prep my basement for me to be down here, including some other things we had to do for my wife working at home and this and the other. There's a lot of shuffling that went about. So that is why between August, September, and now towards the end of October, I didn't release a lot of videos. Unfortunately, had to get some stuff done. So I may have mentioned this earlier in the video. If the sound's funky or if the lights are funky, I'm going to be fine-tuning these over time. So if you have any critiques, please drop them in the comments below. I do want to know. So if there's something that you see that seems odd or out of place or whatever, or just seems wonky, just tell me. I'm perfectly fine. I have no feelings, so it's okay. But yeah, that's it. So thank you guys for watching, and hopefully you'll find this entertaining moving forward to some degree, or at least informative more so than that, because, that's the intent of this, is to be informative. So at least give you a rundown of the news in short order. So yeah, outside of that, guys, I'm going to put some other videos up here. So check those out if you want, and I will catch you in the next one.